So, listener, I'm not going to clown you by any means like the other listener, but I think you're making Jones a little bit too tactical in his decisions, right? Like, that's a nice theory, but here's the reality. I think what happens to people who retire, right, without like finishing their career, so to speak, they look at the fighters of the day and they say, I can come back, I can win. I mean, this is happens at the beginning of time. I mean, look at Vladimir Klitschko is talking about coming back and fighting for the title. And he's been retired for a number of years. Vito Antuofermo used to say, I could come back and destroy Mark Breland. Antuofermo was the guy that Hagler beat in his reign as a middleweight. So for a guy as talented as Jon Jones, he's going to look at the field and he's going to say, I can beat these guys. So let me come back. And I think that's more of it rather than a tactical, let me get out of the way, see how someone else can beat this guy, and then I'll come back. I don't think people think that way, so to speak. Now, as other listeners have mentioned, John's been very tactical in his career, right? Like, but you've got to be tactical to be a winning prize fighter. Like, you want an untactical prize fighter? That was me. I would fight anyone, any place, anytime. Why? Because all I was proving is what a tough guy I was. I had no care about winning or losing because I didn't care about winning or losing. I cared about stepping in there and fighting. And that's a really nice thing. If that's what you want to prove, and that's where I was in my mentality at that age, that's great. But you're going to ruin your own career, right? You've got to be tactical to the point where you're fighting guys with less experience than you, build your record up, get to the point where you've created a career for yourself where you can win those titles. I always cite the example of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. A guy had no talent, but they brought him slowly, and then he almost knocked out the lineal middleweight champion of the world because of that sophistication in the way they moved him and the way they protected him. And at the end of the day, nobody's going to protect you in fighting. At the end, you're going to have to face somebody that can knock you out, and usually that's what happens. And we can say that Jon Jones may be avoiding that for the moment, right? But at the end of the day, if he does come back, like you're thinking, he probably will get knocked out, right? Because he's not getting any younger. He's getting older. But that having been said, we've learned that, older guys can definitely fight for a longer time than we had suspected years ago. Years ago, if you were a bantamweight or something, they said you can't fight long. But what we found is, like, even, Nino Donaire has been fighting into his 30s and 40s and winning titles, and then Bernard Hopkins and Randy Couture, and the list goes on and on. So Jones can come back if he wants. I don't think it ends pretty for him, but guess what? Now he can ride out in the sunset as the champ, as the GOAT. Indeed he is. Everybody read my book, Warrior of the Light.